Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you for joining me here. Quick update from our earlier analysis from today. Just trying to get my East Coast and or evening timeframes covered here so you can all get some more relevant content. The whole point of me mentioning that is that it's important to recognize we're somewhat working into a bullish type of flag pattern here, and a breakout to the upside I feel is inevitable. But I also personally feel like we're going to see the price pull back a little bit further, just kind of giving that perspective there so you understand kind of where we're at. I'm waiting on taking some longs with some altcoins before Bitcoin does retrace, but if Bitcoin doesn't retrace, then I'll be happy to consider adding to some of our positions there, or more importantly, taking some new longs if that is the case. But there's a lot of little reasons as to why the price action should pull back, but we also don't want to attach ourselves to that idea either. I know you kind of always got to be, go with the flow when it comes to trading. And at this point, the trend is up. Okay, and even though there's a lot of fair value below the price action, we want to be mindful that we may see a push to the upside. So we got 95K in the upper range here. That's a heavy amount of liquidation, and of course 90 to about 91,000, 91.5 specifically has another little pocket of liquidation. So it's important to recognize this because these are areas of interest for the whales. They like to push the price in different directions to effectively sweep these late longs and late shorts. And for right now, we're kind of still in the middle of that range. So it doesn't tell us too much, just implies that, hey, majority of the local liquidation has been swept and that retracement makes sense. However, if we stay in this range for too long, and there's a decent chance we do continue to go higher with a bullish type of rectangle pattern, inevitably breaking out. So it really just depends on how many times we retest support or resistance. That'll tell us a lot. But at this point, liquidation delta hasn't changed. So everyone is holding onto a long position right now in profit, hasn't closed their trade, or they effectively have more long positions open than shorts. And that's why we see 35 billion in liquidation delta. That's extremely high. Anytime we see Bitcoin get 15 to 20 billion, there's typically a retracement. So this feels different because of how much volume we have here. The last time we pushed from like 70 to 95 to 100,000, that little run had this same amount of liquidation delta. Okay, so just know this does feel a little different than most other retracements, and if we don't get that pullback here soon, we may see the price continue further up to its macro point of control at about 97,000. I'll show you in the charts here what I mean by that. But 88,000 FYI is that heavy area of confluence. That's where I'm interested in taking a long if we see that. All right, that's the area I'm looking for. When we look at daily time frame, let's just kind of show you roughly what I'm talking about with the point of control. This is where the largest amount of volume is accumulated. We can see it right here, macro point of control, about 86 to 87,000. So that's what this guy here is, this red line. So if you're not familiar, points of control are supports and resistances depending on which side you're on. Okay, as we can see here, 83,000, that was our secondary point of control, with price consolidated and performed quite well in that little area there with a nice little triangle pattern breakout. Okay, so that's kind of where we're at. Keep in mind there was a fundamental catalyst that pushed the price action higher. We could very well see a fundamental catalyst push the price action lower. You never truly know. But at this point, we're accumulating a good amount of volume at this range, and that's nice. All daily time frame indications are letting us know that further upside makes sense. But once more, just kind of reiterate this. And we got the 200-day SMA hanging out right there just below the fair value gap at the lower end at 88,500. Once more, previous high turned into a new low. It would make a lot of sense to see the price action bounce off that level. Okay, I hope I'm wrong and the price keeps going up. Totally understand that, or just please understand that. But it's very common for previous highs to be retested as new lows. The 4-hour time frame is going to reflect the same thing here. There's mostly bullish indications. There's nothing really telling us that we're in a position where we're going to have some kind of hidden bearish divergence. Okay, some people might be touting that on other platforms or otherwise other channels, but the whole point here is that we're close to 70 on the RSI. Good little amount of convergence there, but you do also got to recognize once you drop below 70, there's a good chance that the price starts to cool off and go sideways, which is what we're seeing. We're also under our moving average, and of course, our money flow index is decreasing. Basically implying we're seeing less volume now than we did before, and in turn, the price pulls back with it. So as volume starts to pull back, that's that divergence that I like to look for. And even though we have a decent amount of volume in the last 24 hours, it pales in comparison to the last 72. Okay, so all that being said, there are some areas of confluence on the 4-hour time frame, letting us know further downside makes sense. Hourly also reflects this too, not in like a significant way. We're still maintaining above the cloud, but we do have the lagging span kind of within the price action. Conversion line and the baseline are getting close. So this just tells us that we're losing momentum to the upside and that it would make sense for the price to pull back. Okay. The only thing that's kind of funny and weird about this is this liquidation delta being so outrageously large that you generally don't want to short against this, but it's almost more reason to short it because it's too high for too long. Market makers are going to dump if they can't go any higher here soon. So that's kind of where we're at. They're trying to get more late longs to get trapped here, and it just feels kind of like a bad situation. Okay. And if you kind of zoom in here too to the last, 24 to 48 hours worth of price action, you can see we're having difficulty crossing this 93,500 mark. Price action is kind of stalled out there. We're still establishing lower highs until we break this descending trend. I don't think we should be super, super excited about it. All right, that's what we got there. I hope that makes sense. Appreciate you watching. Please, please, please hit the like button every time you watch my videos. Join us over on Twitter, Telegram, and Discord if you want to become a better trader. And obviously, if you want that for yourself, we do have a really awesome Discord here, very robust. We're taking some nice trades here with we took an ETH short and a Bitcoin short, by the way. Once again, just until we hit the 90,000 range, then we're going to flip long. That's the concept. And if you haven't watched any of my videos lately, coincidentally, you're watching the video now, I like to notify my community and just kind of letting you know, try not to FOMO in too hard right now. The market's nice and on fire, but when it pulls back, that's probably the better strategy to buy in. As those are just my thoughts, I'm a little more conservative. I hope it works out well for you either way. Have a good rest of your day. Look forward to seeing you in the next one. Take care of yourself out there. Bye-bye.